Welcome back to Typically Unique. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
On today's episode, we are going to pick up where we left off, and at the end of the last episode, we were finding ourselves in a situation that, you know, his platelets looked like there was an issue, something was going on. We were going to have to do more testing to find out what was going on.
But before that, we were like all excited though, right? We were home, we were enjoying the summer, kids were back at school, and then this little blip of a number kind of showed up out of nowhere, really, and we went into semi freak out panic mode.
I guess that's why I jumped right into that, because that just took over. But we were just having such a good time, just enjoying getting back into, you know, more of a normal routine, and
100%.
The worry that just crept up on us. So at this time, of course, I went right back to the journal. So I have that entry, and this was December 8th, 2011. So, and remember, we went home in April
11.
2011.
Yeah.
So we had, you know, May, June, July, August, September. Okay. So I needed a day to wrap my head around everything and have my meltdowns before I posted an update on here. Most of you know that Aiden has relapsed and the cancer is back. I was overwhelmed at the outpouring of love on Facebook. We have the best friends and family all over the world. So Wednesday, I waited all day for the doctor to call. And when I couldn't take it anymore, I decided to sneak out for an hour and get some much needed groceries for dinner. And you guessed it, as I was in the middle of the store with a cart full, the doctor called. I ran out and talked to her as I drove home. She told us the cancer was back and that they would give us until Tuesday before he would need to be admitted to start a round of chemo to get him back into remission. He will be in the hospital for 5 to 6 weeks. Then he will get to come home for a week or so. And then when we go back, Aiden will have a bone marrow transplant. They are currently searching for a bone marrow match in the National Registry. It takes a while for them to do this because they have to send in an official request and wait for results. They told me about 10 days from yesterday, which was Wednesday. Then we get admitted. When we get admitted, we will meet the bone marrow team and learn more about their plans. I am just sick to my stomach at the thought of watching Aiden go through this again. The wind has been knocked out of all of us as we watch our getting ready for Christmas lives get turned into fighting for your child's life. And Carly is shaken, but being strong on the outside. When I spoke to the doctor, my immediate concern was that Aiden would have to have that awful proverbial catheter placed back in his chest. But she said he could get a PICC line, which is placed in your upper arm and wrapped. The relief on his face when I told him that was priceless. I just hope this is better for him. I think this news hit Aiden pretty hard. I can't believe I've had to tell him this news twice. Even though Aiden does not show sadness very often, I can tell that he is. He is being strong, though, and we are talking through it. I am very thankful. We have some days to prepare ourselves for what is to come. Okay, so here is my plea. For those of you that were interested in donating bone marrow, we have friends that are planning some drives, so information will be coming out soon. We desperately need our Hispanic friends to get a cheek swab sent into the bone marrow registry. And because Aiden is Hispanic Caucasian mixed race, we need those donors the most. They have the best chance of being the match. We hope to make a huge impact on the number of those types of donors to the registry. They are the most needed. Thank you so much for all of your concern and prayers. Carlos and I are going to fight like dogs to get Aiden through this again.
Yeah, that was, you know, the proverbial gut punch.
Yep.
But there's so much in that post, you know. I do want to spend a minute on the Broviac, because he did not like having that, and I think it was such a big relief when he first came home to get that out and to see that maybe they could do something else that wasn't in such a highly sensitive area. Mm-hmm. I would have been a little bit more helpful, but even all that being said, we have to go back to the hospital again, and, I wasn't ready for this. I don't think anybody in our family was ready for this. And, I know you have a few more journal entries, but I think the big thing about this one is, too, that, we are Hispanic, Caucasian, mixed. And I do remember the bone marrow drive person, I believe it was a lady who said, we don't have a lot of folks with that mix, and it is very important for us to get that.
It's hard for those patients to find a match.
Right.
So, yeah, we really wanted to help with that.
And wasn't sure if this was going to be Aiden's ultimate match or not, but,
right.
Even still today, if you hear of a bone marrow drive, it is very easy, not invasive at all. I think there were 3 stations. And
you fill out some paperwork, you take a big long Q-tip and you rub it around the inside of your cheeks.
Yep.
That's
and then you put it in a tube, put it in an envelope, and then they check it and boom, that's it. It's so quick, so easy. We even sponsored one of those, but
and that's just to find out, to get into the registry so that you're in there to see if you ever someday would be a match for somebody. That's all it takes to do that.
Yep.
I'd also just, we were talking as we were going through these journal entries now that, we have the relapse and we don't remember any of this. And I'm reading about me being in the grocery store. I'm like, I bet I just left a cart full of groceries in that store and just ran out. Like, I don't remember that, but I bet that's what I did. So
yeah,
it's really nice having these journal entries. Okay, so here's the next one, and this was December 12th. Today was Aiden's last day of school for this school year, and his school made it a very special day for him. I can't express enough, as a mom, how much that meant to me. I wasn't there, but the kids told me that Aiden was called to the office before his 5th period class and then went to the library where his class, and Carly was there too, was waiting to surprise him for a class period of just hanging out and playing games, even video games, and eating pizza and ice cream. Aiden just loved it. That was just what he needed to lift his spirits for the challenge he has before him. When he left the school at the end of the day, Carly said everyone was out in the hallway cheering for him and wishing him well. Oof. We had a nice family dinner tonight at home for the last time for a while. I spent the rest of the night packing things up and gathering things for the hospital for Carlos, Aiden, and I, and for Carly to spend the night at her grandparents'. We leave for the hospital around 1 tomorrow afternoon and to go to the doctor's office first and then get admitted to Rainbow 2. Aiden will get a regular IV so they can draw blood and give him platelets. Then Wednesday, he's scheduled for surgery at noon to get a PICC line and spinal tap done to make sure the cancer isn't in his spine. Aiden will have to rest the rest of the day Wednesday. I would guess they will start the chemo Wednesday night. I don't even know what he's getting and for how long yet. They will tell us tomorrow or Wednesday afternoon. The plan is not to take one day at a time, but to take each moment, each situation, each hurdle one at a time. Thanks for all your prayers. We need them.
I don't even know how we physically got our bodies up to pack and to even go back to rainbows. I certainly wasn't motivated. Maybe we could talk about it in a future episode, but I thought the last time, those last 8 months, was me finishing a marathon and that last mile, and just like, if I have to crawl or roll across the line,
yes,
that's what I'm going to do, and I'll never run a marathon again. And then
here we are.
Here we are. So.
And such a short time later, we didn't even make it a year.
Yeah, but I guess for the journal, though, I really want to say that send-off was fantastic. And Aiden did have, I think he really did like that. And you'd mentioned earlier that, he doesn't show a lot of emotion, a lot of, happy, funny, moments, or, a lot of frustrating, he's kind of even keel on some of that. He certainly doesn't express it out loud, I'm very happy or I'm very sad, but that one shone through, right? I think he really liked that.
Yeah, and, I was very appreciative because, it's his school, but they're also my colleagues, all his teachers and other workers at that school, I had worked with at other schools and had a history with, and they watched him grow up. So, it was very special. So, appreciated that. Okay, so we are in the hospital now. Today was Aiden's last day of chemo for a few days. He did awesome again today. He had to get an injection in his leg, and he did great. The best part of today for Aiden was to Skype with his friends. Aiden had his computer set up in front of him in the game room so he could see his friends and talk to them on Skype, and then they were playing Call of Duty MW3 at the same time online together. How great is that? I can't begin to describe how instantaneously that changed Aiden's mood. I think they were on there for like 6 hours. I just let him go because that is all he wants, is to be with his friends. So if you or you know someone that is a parent of a junior high student, especially Aiden's friends, the best thing that the kids can do is stay in touch. Texting, Facebook, Skype, email, instant message, whatever. That is going to help him the most. So I'm writing this at 1 a.m. because, of course, I fell asleep. But I can't stay asleep. I am discovering a level of anger and fear that I never knew existed, and I don't know how to handle. I've never had to take medication for emotional things before, but I'm seriously thinking I may need something. I don't see how anyone goes through this without something to numb the pain and help you sleep. I am so angry about so many things. Why does this have to happen to such a good boy? He is such a good kid, I can't stand it. He's a good student. He always tells the truth. He doesn't deserve to go through this. He has had enough health issues in his life and handles them with no complaining. And Carly is traumatized. Why does her life have to get tossed upside down for the second time in less than a year? We already did this once. Isn't it enough? We feel like we made it out once, and now we have to try again to hold our family together while we wage a battle of a lifetime while getting to school and doing homework and projects and playing sports and having meetings and going to work and holidays and birthdays and etc. Some of Carly's friends just don't know when to not say something, so she's dealing with that all the time. And I think we're all going to freak out from now on when it is Christmas time. I honestly can't believe we are in the bleeping hospital for another Christmas and Aiden's birthday. I'm sorry I had to vent, but I'm probably going to have to let it rip on here if I am going to keep my sanity so I can help Aiden. Carlos just said today how well I was handling everything. Ha! I guess you can only keep things bottled up for so long until they explode. The one good thing, though, is that I am not taking it out on the hospital staff this time. I'm just venting on here. I hope that is better. So Aiden is done with chemo until Wednesday, and they will repeat it, and we will be in the hospital over Christmas break.
Yeah, so so when you say on here, you are venting
still on Caring Bridge.
On Caring Bridge,
so
right?
We went straight back to Caring Bridge when the relapse happened.
Which I think what you're saying in that post is look, and I kind of want to jump into your feelings here a little bit, but when you say I'm venting it out, I don't want to vent it out on the staff, and it's good to do here. It seems like in that, you waking up at night, you're like, I'm up to here with this and I'm ready to explode. And this may be a little pressure release, but.
Yeah, it was fear and anger, and you heard all my thoughts. I just put them out there. So, yeah, it was kind of like releasing it.
But that's not sustainable, right? I mean, writing stuff on Caring Bridge is...
No.
But
no.
Ultimately, it's not sustainable. I mean, I think we're both at max capacity, and, we're trying to keep ourselves motivated to do this, right? Because, and maybe we'll get into it here in a second, but, you know, we're doing something a little bit different than we did the first time. So these are new goals, new challenges, new...
and an unknown. And me and unknown do not do well together.
Right. So I think in there when I said, you know, hey, you know, you've done really good, keep it together, you know, I'm just trying to motivate you. I think we're trying to motivate each other. We're trying to help pull each other up by the bootstraps, even though...
Right.
We're not wearing any shoes.
Right. Well, the only thing going for us is we knew the hospital.
Yes.
We knew a lot of the staff.
Yes.
So that part of it, you know, we were prepared for. I also had expressed before of having like regret over some of my freakouts and, you know, that. So now I have a chance to go in there and try to, you know, do it a little bit different this time. That was always the goal, you know, but our feelings are also now 500 times what they were before because this is terrifying situation.
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You do it how you do it, baby.
You know, and the one, I don't know if it's funny about that, but the time period, we keep going back to the time period of 2011, like Skype and that FaceTime, that was new. That was like brand new. So I was in amazement that, you know, to see Aiden be able to do that with his friends and the connection that, you know, he was able to do. So, yeah. Okay. So, and this kind of goes with that. Tuesday evening around 4 o'clock, Carlos sent me a text that said, they have numerous good matches for Aiden. I almost fell to my knees. I was so happy and literally burst into tears of relief. Then Carlos called me and we used FaceTime so we could see each other and talk. He said the bone marrow team was going to come talk to him, so he kept me on the phone until they came down. It was pretty awesome to be able to see and hear the doctor and 2 nurses, and they could see and hear me. 21st century technology, I put in parentheses. They sat down, did introductions, gave us his happily ever after spiel, and then looked at his paper and said, well, Aiden has 2 8 out of 8 matches, which are very good matches to have. And then one of the nurses said, it's 10 out of 10. And the doctor glanced at his paper and his eyes got really big, like, wow. And he said, it is 10 out of 10. That is fantastic. Then he told us that Aiden qualified for a study because he has 2 10 out of 10 matches. I Googled the study, of course, and I think so it had a name. I found it on St. Jude's website, but it is open to all hospitals in the oncology group. So this study isn't about the bone marrow procedure itself exactly. It is about the matching process. Because they have more than one great match, they can compare them and look for these NK cells, they're natural killer cells, that have a better chance of going in and seeking and destroying any cancer cells that may be hiding. So instead of that being left to chance, they can strategically pick the match that has the right one for Aiden. I did some reading last night. Carlos signed the papers immediately and said, get started. I can't ever fully explain the emotions you feel when you're going through something like this. But when we first talked to just the nurse a few days ago or last week, I was sobbing out of fear because we had no idea what kind of match, if any, that they would find. Then yesterday, when we were told 10 out of 10, I think I cried even harder out of relief that at least Aiden will get the best possible chance at this bone marrow transplant curing him. I told the doctor he just made my Christmas wish come true. So after the meeting with the team, I called my parents, and they cried just as much as I did. Tears of relief. It got pretty comical after that because I was a few minutes late picking Carly up from basketball practice. And I couldn't call everyone I wanted for about an hour or so because we had to stop at the store. So literally like 20 minutes had passed since I had called my mom, and I was in the store and I saw a lady from church, and she has been really kind, sending messages and letters to Aiden. So it was perfect that she was the person that I saw. And I said, I have good news. And she said, I heard. I couldn't believe the news traveled that fast, small towns, right? I thought that was awesome. I, of course, had to razz my mom about it later that night and asked if she called all of Ashtabula. She even called one of my friends before I did. I didn't mind one bit. Let's celebrate what we can. And I was on the phone most of the night myself, telling everyone the details. There's a picture of Aiden on Facebook eating a huge sundae, hospital style. That means making it with whatever goodies you can find to celebrate 10 out of 10. He was very happy too.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but I guess I want to start technically, and you may have to help me through this because you are in charge of health and safety, but let's kind of explain the difference what Aiden did the first time compared to why he's going to be in the hospital this time, and why these are two different, and we keep saying the unknown, right? We should be able to have at this, right?
Right.
So I think to kick it off, we did 5 rounds of chemotherapy the first time we got the diagnosis for AML, and each one was a little bit different, more intense as we went along, but there was a clear start date and a clear end date.
Yeah, and then recovery.
So this time,
right,
we're talking about bone marrow and stuff like that. What are they trying to do now?
Right. So, well, at this point, I mean, I had been avoiding any talk of bone marrow transplant at all because I was terrified of it.
Right.
And at this point,
why were you terrified?
Right. Here's why I was terrified. And this was just my perception. I hadn't done any research or anything. It's just what I thought. And I thought, well, it was crucial to find that match. And it was terrifying that if the transplant doesn't work, there's no coming back from that, was what was my understanding. So I was just terrified of it not working. Yeah. And just the finality of that. Like, that's what scared me so much. So then we started learning, how, and most people, us included, would think, well, your closest relatives would be your perfect match, right? Your mom and your dad, your sister or cousins. And that's not the case. It is usually a perfect stranger that will be a match. And that's why that registry is so important to have. And I don't understand why that is, but that's just the way it is.
Well, we learned a lot about this as we went along because we'll spend a good amount of time at the hospital again, and you will do your, inevitable research. And we may see in some of the documents that maybe explain this a little bit more. Right. A lot of it I don't remember either, but what I did remember at the beginning with this 8 out of 8 and 10 out of 10 and there was a range of these numbers and there was a safe space. And I think, 8 out of 8, 10 out of 10 were some of those numbers. It wasn't the absolute best, right? But it was like a safe space that there was statistically that range would be pretty good for your child.
Right. And they're looking at different markers in your DNA. You would think like blood type would matter. Nope. Nope. Blood type doesn't matter. So all the common things we know aren't really what they're just looking at whatever. We don't even know those scientific terms.
And I guess what I'm saying here is this is different than what we did before in another aspect too, right?
Right.
This one, they were just trying to hit a reset button the previous time, right?
That's what they were doing.
Your bone marrow's kind of, the machine's not putting out just white cells, they're throwing in some leukemia cells, and your Bruton's is, not maturing this stuff, or whatever. So they're just going to hit the reset button.
Right.
I think with the bone marrow transplant, it is like, you know what? We're going to take apart the machine.
Take it out.
Clean out the inside, completely, and then put all new guts in there.
Put a new one in.
And see how that starts working. Is that kind of a layman's?
That's a good analogy,
Is it?
I think.
I just came up with that on the spot. We didn't talk about that. But I'm just trying to set the stage why this is so different. So this sounds more invasive. This sounds a lot harsher.
Yes.
So our fears are warranted, right?
Yes.
With this. And we're just starting to get into it. We never wanted to think or talk this into existence, right?
Right.
So we didn't do a lot of research.
We avoided that. We would not. There was no what-ifing this. We were done after those 5 rounds, and that was it. We were going to go on with our lives. And so we were pretty blindsided when this happened.
So maybe I'm going to ask you this question, because I don't know if I have an answer, at least today, reflecting back. What does hope look like?
At this time?
Yeah.
I was focused on that donor match.
Okay.
Just to give him that best chance. That's what I was, because you have to find the match, and then you're putting your child's life in the hands of a stranger that doesn't know you. What if they don't want to do it?
They can back out, sure.
Yeah, it's a big chance, a big risk with that. So,
and we also learned during that time, because during that time we're just kind of holding our breath, right? We're like, okay, do we have a match? Is this match a willing participant? And are they available? Because the doctors would talk a little bit in code to us, right?
Yes.
Because we cannot know who the donor is.
Right. They keep it secret. You're not allowed to know until way after. But
right.
We'll explain that when.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But we aren't, we don't know anything about it. But they would give us these, weird little hints, like, well, if they're in the military, then, or if they're overseas, and we're like, is that even possible? And we were thinking, oh, they had to be from Puerto Rico. Or maybe they're stationed in Puerto. We were just coming up with all these things, but
based on what they would tell us,
the little stuff that they were telling us. But but in that moment, our mind is racing a million miles an hour. A million things are going on, and
the fear if it doesn't work. That was another. Yeah. I don't know if it's a misconception, but yeah, I always thought I thought you had one chance. One chance to get it right, and that's where my head was at. So that lever, I was terrified and
I don't know if that was completely false or urban legend, but I think them going in and doing this, once this is done and everything's kind of stripped out, the new machine has to work. The old machine's not coming back.
Right. I guess they can keep trying. There were patients up there that they've tried
keep
more
putting
than
in a
once.
new machine.
Right. You got to keep trying to put in that new machine. You can't go back to your old one because it's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. Right. So
right.
I don't know if they actually said that to us. They said some other disturbing stuff to us that we'll talk about later on. But, but I don't think they ever said that. But I think it was an urban legend. So maybe that's something that we could look up too. If you don't get the engraftment with a bone marrow transplant, is that ultimately a death sentence? I guess we don't know the answer, but we feared that.
Yeah, definitely feared that.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we're going to talk about on our next episode, because this relapse and facing this transplant is the heightened emotions and fear and all that we went through, even though we had gone through it with the other rounds also. So we thought this would be a good time to talk about all that happened. Looking back now, this is a perfect time for us to reflect now, 12 years later, seeing all these events and kind of speculating on how we feel now that these events impacted us, which then in turn affected our relationships as a couple, as a family. And so we're gonna do that in our next episode. Yeah,
there's a lot to unpack there, and I think we just are going to have some real talk maybe after this one.
Another real talk. So we will see you back here for that on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.